I'm not going to read all of these, but I, again, want to acknowledge Nye and Rowdy, two longtime mentors and friends, leaders to this movement. In addition to Nye bringing me out of foster care into Amity, she also saved me in my early 20s and brought me back into the TC when I was struggling from a very severe heroin addiction. Motivated me to do a lot of the work that I do today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the balance between corporation and community. When I first came to Amity as a child, we had about 6 employees. We have over 1,000 now. We're serving maybe 40 people. We're serving 45,000 now in the community, and so that's been a big challenge. We've gone through a transition of leadership, very big shoes to fill, as you can imagine, from Rod, and so we're fortunate to have culture carriers and teachers in that environment, but it does come with challenges. And maintaining both the community as method structure, but also having contract compliance. We oversee a lot of contracts and have a lot of responsibility for that, but the community as method approach is the driving factor to those. We say no to about 90% of any opportunities that come our way. And I think what you say no to puts more value into what you say yes to in the community. Anecdotal stories, telling your story, the earlier presentations about policy change is really important, but you also have to have a social return on investment as well. We don't wait for government to come up with ideas for us. We help drive those ideas. We help write legislation, pass laws that more in line with what we believe in community. And then services that complement the teaching therapeutic community. So it's not just the therapeutic community, it's where do people go when they leave? If they only do good in the community and they go to a shelter afterwards, then we failed. If they don't have employment, if they haven't reunited with their family, we have to make sure that people have health care, all of the ancillary services that really require people to be successful. And then community structure drives the corporate structure. Those are the most coveted positions, not mine, in the organization. It's actually the services side of what we do, and that has to be prime. So if you're the CFO, if you're any of the administrative folks in the organization, you're engaged in a community process. And those are the driving factors of our decision making as an organization. Internal and external workforce development. This is a challenge. As we've grown and scaled, we work with universities on making sure that students that are coming out of clinical schools, medical schools, are actually embedded in our programs so they can learn about the therapeutic community as part of their practicums, as part of their studies. And then we also are teaching people that are going through the therapeutic communities and building their level of knowledge up and getting them certified. We actually don't accept any contracts that don't allow us to hire people that we serve. And that's an indicator for us. We'll accept it and change it, but we absolutely will not consider doing anything that doesn't allow us to reflect the therapeutic community. Training needs of the community and contracts, it's different. So we have a training and services department, contract compliance, again, what are we obligated to do? But the teaching therapeutic community is the highest standard. We always say that contract compliance is a very low bar. It's the minimum that we have to accomplish with anything that we're doing. And then how do we scale beyond a niche organization to really address the needs of addiction, homelessness, incarceration? When I came to Amity Foundation was in 2007, and we were going through a financial crisis, and really learned then how fragile community-based organizations and therapeutic communities are, and how reliant we are on government. So now we do a lot of public-private partnerships. We've really diversed, and we actually fund hundreds of other organizations. So we help lead and guide that conversation to really make it based on what we feel is appropriate in the community. We're building about 1,000 units of housing. We're building that housing with people that have been through the therapeutic community. We're driving the employment conversation. We don't want people to just come out and get janitorial jobs or forklift operators. We want them to have livable wage opportunities. And then leading beyond just the organizational needs and thinking globally on policy change. We're here at an international conference. I'm amazed to see all the creative and innovative ideas that go on in the international community. Working with groups like the Maori tribe and others to really think about 30-year outcomes. I'm not impressed by a contract outcome that's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I want to see generational change. We as an organization believe in that. I wouldn't be standing here today, frankly, had that kind of mindset not been in place for us now. So I want to make sure that we're impacting, and we as an organization want to impact our children and our children's children. The need for corporate structure to support the administration and financial needs, of course we have to have this. We're managing a lot of funding that's coming through, a lot of employees, a lot of other services that go on. We absolutely have to have a corporate structure to do all of those things responsibly. And I've learned over the years, and we've learned as an organization, we don't want our best practitioners worrying about the administrative part of what we're doing and focusing on it. They need to be doing the real work that actually takes place in the community, and that's the primary focus. So it's making sure that we have that in place, so we're not always running from the work with our students, which is prime, to go put out fires administratively. Sustainability, community, financial, this is an ongoing challenge. I don't think any of us have the answers, but collectively I think we can do this, and collaboratively I think really driving those conversations, thinking innovative, and really making sure that we have the ability to create those conversations. Again, like I mentioned, not waiting for others to create it for us. I already spoke a little bit about housing, employment, education, healthcare, but those are essential parts of the therapeutic community. We as an organization have departments that do housing and employment. For education and healthcare, we partner with federally qualified health centers. And I want to thank our federally qualified health center partners, our healthcare partners. Through the pandemic, we frankly could not have gotten through that without those kind of partnerships in place. It was absolutely critical. And then social return on investment. Again, this is really largely data-driven, and just measuring sobriety is not the measurement of quality of life. We want to measure all the things I just talked about and what's the collective impact on that. So we're working on data systems that will actually be able to value that and actually say, if we do this service, this is the long-term investment on that. And I'm actually going to talk about challenges and then invite Rod to come up. Sustainability and growth. Again, it's challenging. We've had a lot of growth. We've grown 12 times in the last 5 years, 12x. And so that's posed certain challenges in the community, straining, teaching people what the core values are. How do we keep the mission prime and the therapeutic community prime while also adapting and making sure that we're incorporating other important elements? Finding ways to measure the core parts of our mission. Rod is going to talk about that. The membership component is so important, not just measuring, again, contract outcomes. And then increasing the depth of the experience of community among the influx of newer faculty, really making sure that they have a self-actualization process and a transformative experience, just like we've all had in that process. And so I'm going to invite Rod up to talk a little bit about solutions.
Well, one of the most important solutions that's not on the slide is I stepped down as CEO about 4 years ago, and we presented this in Greece, but one of the most important decisions a CEO can make is finding the proper successor, and I think you have some great evidence, as I certainly do, that I did a good job. You know, one of the things about this, if you take a gallon of water and add it to a cup of tea, it doesn't taste like tea anymore. And when we have really rapid expansion of our organizations, we can have the same effect where the core, you know, our values, our practices, our beliefs, our mission really gets diluted by all these people who are coming in who don't have the same experience. So that's really a challenge for us, and one that we've really thought a lot about. We've talked about how do we maintain the feeling of community and the actuality of community with a much larger organization, with so many people coming in to our organization that don't have TC experience. And that puts a burden on us in terms of training. It also poses a really unique and I think exciting challenge. That challenge we've met in a number of ways. One is we developed an instrument called the Community Indicator. I'm going to have to wing these slides a little bit because I didn't actually put these together. But we said, okay, what's the problem? We get measured by everybody. You know what I mean? all these agencies that regulate us, license us, certify us, are constantly in measuring, using their instruments. And if we're not careful, because we have to comply with those things or they stop paying us, then we can't do our job. If we're not careful, what happens over a period of time is that we become like them because we're using their ruler all the time to measure whether we're doing a good job. So we really spent a couple of years developing our own. We said, let's develop our own ruler, our own measurement that measures what we think we should be doing. And so we developed I think it's 96 questions on iPad tabs, and part of our services and training department job is to go around from campus to campus and measure, are we doing what we think we should be doing? Are we, as George would say, are we faithful to our own principles? Or are we simply becoming faithful to all the bureaucrats who measure us, who have no real interest in the outcomes that we're trying to achieve? And I think that's a very profound and important instrument. And I would really recommend it to others who are going through the challenges that we're all going through, which is trying to remain true to community while struggling with the issue of regulation and finances that are imposed upon us. So we want to ask, are our circles, are the encounter groups that we do, are they good? Are they long enough? Are they vital? Are they doing what they should be doing? Or are they just a check mark in a box? How good are our morning meetings? How good are our seminars? How good and appropriate are the work assignments that we give our students? Or are we just passing them through and really not thinking? As George has told us, conference after conference, do we know why we are doing what we are doing? Because if we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, we typically stop doing what we're supposed to be doing. And people start inventing their own ideas about and bringing them in from the outside. So we end up starting looking like every other behavioral health agency, and we've lost the ability to transform people's lives. So we're tracking community building activities, increasing faculty engagement outside of their typical roles. One of the reasons that Therapy at Communities really worked at the beginning and had such a dramatic impact, as George has pointed out, everybody was a member of the community. And everybody was bought into being a member. As we expand, what happens is we have a few people who are members who are working in the community and a lot of people who are employees who say, that's not my job. That's deadly, because as that ratio shifts and we have more people who think they're there for a job and only a few people who think they're there as part of members of the community, the balance begins to shift and the people who are really doing community feel isolated and disregarded. So it's critically important, and what we're doing is we're paying people 2 to 4 hours a month to engage in something that's not their job, that is in the community. To have lunch with a student, to do a seminar, to do something that's completely outside of their job, but is part of their membership role. And we think this is really, really critical so that we don't lose community, so that community doesn't become sort of the tip on the tail of the dog instead of the most important thing that we do. I am going to turn this back over to you, Doug. I'll say this one thing. Circles are critical, and we're trying to use them throughout our agency. So even at places that have nothing to do with the TC, to have them use circular processes rather than traditional meeting processes, so that we're constantly making the circle, which is really the basis of community, in every aspect of Amity. Thank you.
So I'm actually going to go to the last part, which is a short video. I think Rod touched very eloquently on membership and how important that is. I think as leadership in any organization, it really has to be driven in that way. So I will end on that and a video, very brief video. Thank you.